Hello, everyone, and welcome to another inspiring episode of Build with Sophia. Joining me today is Peter, internationally recognized as a creator of the Hamster Wheel Trap. Peter is a best-selling author, international keynote speaker, business coach, Hall of Fame Coaching Award recipient, and founder freedom expert. Over the past 20 years, he has worked with entrepreneurs across 5 continents, investing more than 6,000 coaching hours, helping business owners build companies that create freedom instead of dependence. His best selling book, Your Business Sucks. Build a business that works without destroying your life. Challenges confidential thinking about entrepreneurship that teaches founders how to build businesses that can strive without relying on them for every decision. Peter, welcome to Build with Sophia.
Thank you, Sophia, for having me. I'm really looking forward to our show today.
Peter, every entrepreneur starts a business hoping for more freedom. Why do so many eventually feel trapped by every business that they build?
Now, that's a really good question. Let's start at the very beginning. The moment you start your business, you are already trapped. You just do not realize it. And actually, you are okay with being trapped because you don't see it as a trap. So you think about it, first 5 years of business, what must you do? You must work really hard because to get a business off the ground requires a lot of energy, a lot of effort, and many hours. And people just think this is normal. It's only when you get to about year 5 and business fatigue starts to settle in, that feeling of that realization that you are in a trap really starts to come clear.
You have coined the phrase the hamster wheel trap. What exactly does it mean? And how can someone recognize you're already sucked in it?
Like I said before, the hamster wheel trap starts from day one, already happening. Now, how can they recognize that? Let's look at it this way. In the UK, there's 5.4 million small to medium-sized privately owned businesses, of which 4.2 million are solopreneurs. They hire nobody. Now think about it from a solopreneur. If you're not working, no income's coming in. What happens if you want to take a holiday? Could you take a holiday for, let's say, 30 days without looking at your emails, without answering the phone, without doing any of those things? If the answer to that is simply no, then guess what? You are already trapped. Another thing, let's say business owners. Normally younger business owners don't think about their mortality, but when you get to 45 years plus, things start to break in the body. What happens if you have a medical condition that takes you out the hospital, puts you in hospital, takes you out the business for, let's say, 1 month again? And you can't interact with your customers. You can't do any work. How many of your listeners would still have a business when they left the hospital? What you will find is probably the majority of them will be finished by then because there's no income coming in. Customers go elsewhere. That's it, done. And that's how you know whether you are in a hamster wheel trap or not.
Don't actually own a business, they own a job. That's bold statement. How can you explain what you mean?
Bold statement or true statement? Yeah, look, a lot of people, they have a business, they have what they call a business, and it has a name. And legally, they own that business. But in reality, the business owns them because they work for that business during the day, at night when they think. They have just created the worst employer than they had previously, and that's them, because they're in prison now. If they don't do the marketing, no money comes in. If they don't convert, no money comes in. If they can't do the financing properly, make sure that the business is profitable, then it will go bust. If they don't deliver the work properly, they're in trouble. It's a beautiful prison that they've just named after themselves. And that's the reality when it comes. It's not so much a bold statement. It's the reality people need to wake up to. The business owns them. Business tells them when they can concentrate, when they have free time, when they don't have free time, when they can mentally switch off or they don't switch off. Why is it so many business owners wake up at 3 a.m. thinking about their business? Why do you have so many people in business that do the day job, which is the execution, and then in the evening, they're doing the paperwork at the kitchen table? If that is the definition of someone that owns a business, then they need to rethink, because when you're working that hard, your business is owning you.
Your journey began at McDonald's, where you learned the importance of system. How did that early experience shape the philosophy you teach today?
Well, put it this way, it conditioned me from day one. We were taught from the very first day there is a system and process for everything. So for me, it became second nature. You didn't have to be the smartest person in the room. You had to be the best person at executing a system. And if you could execute the system really well, you had a really good career ahead of you. So it shaped my whole life. Now, I didn't realize it when I was in McDonald's because I thought that the way McDonald's did business was the way that everybody did business. However, what I got to learn when I left McDonald's and end up having my own businesses and working with other businesses, that is not the reality. And most businesses operate at best in organized chaos.
After spending more than 6,000 hours inside businesses, what common patterns have you noticed among entrepreneurs? Who struggles the most?
The people that struggle the most are the people that learn the least. And what do I mean by that? When you look at business, the reality is no one teaches you how to be a business owner. You go to school, college, university, you're not really taught about business. You're taught about subjects, so to speak. When you come into the real world, it's very different. And if you look at the hamster wheel as being one hamster wheel like a theme park, within that theme park, there's many hamster wheels. There's a sales hamster wheel. There's the marketing hamster wheel, operations hamster wheel, finance hamster wheel. These are all core components of a successful business. And most business owners never learn about marketing, sales, operations. They just work every single day, hoping that at some point this hard work will just manifest itself into a successful business, which most of the time it does not.
In recent times, many founders believe they have to make every important decisions themselves. Why does this mindset eventually become dangerous to them?
Because they're used to making the decisions from the first day they start the business. When they start their business and they found it, they make all the decisions. Okay, they're making the decisions with themselves, but they're still making the decisions. Then they hire a few people. And they don't necessarily hire the best people because they can't afford them. So they hire people that can do a job. Again, guess who's making the decisions? They are. At every step of the way, they're making the decisions. So they're training the organization to be dependent on them. So by the time they've got managers and everything, it's just a habit of having a business dependent on them and actually having the employees dependent on them. Now, where does that become dangerous? Well, no one ever thinks about exiting a business, but at some point people want to exit. And when we look at businesses out there that are for sale, there is a massive, now what I would call a discount on all the businesses that are founder dependent. Because when someone's then buying that business, they're not buying a business, they're buying that person's job, because that person's integral to the whole organization. That devalues a business, not adds value. And that's the danger. And also, the other danger is when you've got everyone coming to you for decisions, what happens when you are ill and you can't communicate with the team? They're not going to be able to function without you. It's like having a child living with you for the rest of your life because you've not taught them how to become self-sufficient. And there's the danger.
You often talked about founders' dependency. What are the warning signs that business relies too heavily on its own owners?
When every single conversation needs to come through the owner, when every single decision comes through the owner, when the business cannot move forward or function independently without the owner's input, then you know it's absolutely dependent on that one person who ends up being the chief bottleneck officer of the organization.
People often assume that increasing revenue automatically leads to a better life. Why do you believe revenue and freedom are two completely different things?
They are different, but they're not different. Let me explain. Let's take revenue. There are always going to be jobs that need to be done in an organization. And if you do not have anyone to do those jobs, you have to do those jobs yourself. Now, in order to hire people, you need to have revenue. And the more revenue you have, the more structured your business can be because you can hire different people to do the different things. That's non-negotiable. If you don't grow the revenue, you're never going to get freedom. As a business owner, you are always going to be trapped. You are always going to then be in a position where you're going to have to keep running. That's why for me, revenue can allow you to put structure in the business. Structure gives you freedom. Vern Harnish has a really lovely saying that I love, and he's the author of Scaling Up. He says that routine sets you free, and that is so true. You need to put structure and routine in your business to get freedom if you want it.
So, Peter, what practical system should entrepreneurs beginning building today if they want their business to operate successfully without them?
They need to learn, or they need to work out what's preventing them in terms of skills and knowledge today from doing that, and then go and acquire the knowledge. It's very important that entrepreneurs are lifelong learners. If they're not lifelong learners, the world around them will change at such a speed they will not be able to adapt. So I give you a good example. Every entrepreneur should be at least listening or reading to one business book a week as a non-negotiable. Because the saying goes, the more you learn, the more you earn. And structure doesn't happen by itself. It's for most people, it's not an intuitive skill. It's a learned skill.
Burnout has become incredibly common among entrepreneurs. From your experience, what causes it and how can founders prevent it before it's too late?
They need to learn how to structure their business before their business consumes them. I mean, when you've got burnout is a result of an imbalance in the business. If you're working too many hours, then you don't have the right structure in place. You don't have people to do the lower value tasks, allowing you to grow the business as a business owner. If you cannot afford to employ people, then your margins are wrong and your business model is wrong. You've got to put structure in place to be able to avoid burnout. Burnout's an end result of actually burning the candle at both ends, not having the people and doing the work of 4 or 5 people, which is not uncommon for entrepreneurs, which you can do for a period of time, but eventually you will run out of the energy to keep sustaining that.
For someone who feels overwhelmed and believes their business owns them instead of the other way around, what are the first 3 changes you would recommend making immediately?
I mean, you can take the free assessment that I've got called the Hamster Wheel Trap Assessment. That will give you a breakdown of where you are. But more importantly, I think you've got to start learning. You've got to start reading some books. You've got to start changing your knowledge. You cannot change your behavior if you don't change your knowledge. So if you want your outcome to change, you need to change who you are. You need to change how you think. The only way you're ever going to do that is through knowledge acquisition. No other way. Learn the skills.
Many entrepreneurs dream about eventually selling their business. What makes a company valuable to buyers, and how does reducing founders' dependency increase experts' values?
So what I say to people, you've got to build a business that can run without the entrepreneur. If it can run without the founder, it has more value, because nobody ever wants to buy a business of someone and have the founder still there. So you've got to learn to structure the business. You've got to learn to grow it. You've got to create a business that's got consistent and predictable revenue and profit. So you work on your business. You work on that. You think about the person you want to sell it to. Do you want to sell it to, is it going to be a generational sell? Is it going to be a management buyout? Is it going to be VC? Is it going to be PE? Depending on who you want to sell it to, market competitor, you structure your business and create the business in a way that is attractive for them to buy. That's the most important thing. People think you can build business one way and it's saleable to anybody. No, it's not. Different buyers look for different things.
You have coached founders from many different industries around the world. Is there one success story that perfectly illustrates the transformation from being trapped to building a business that truly works without the founder?
100%. I've had loads of clients that have worked hard on their business, and to create a business that can run without you probably takes around 5 years. And then after that, to then create a business that has great value probably takes another 3 years on that. So for you, you've got to consider it's going to be an 8-year journey. But I have loads of clients that have exited over a sustained period, got the money they wanted from their business, but more importantly, got to live the life they really wanted to live. So actually on the book cover actually is a really good one, where I've had a client that part sold their business, and they quoted on the front of the book, they exited some of their business for £20 million. So they sold 50% of their business for 20 million. So they're still involved in the business, but they're helping the people that bought them actually build the business up for an eventual group sale, which will potentially give them an extra 80 million on top of that. But they're working very hard on how to do that. They're learning loads of new skills. So yes, it's 100% possible if you've got the right knowledge and support in place.
How can leaders build teams that can think independently instead of constantly waiting for the founder's approval?
Well, the founder's got to change. The founder's got to build a team. They've got to hire the right people that have got the talent, skill and knowledge to be able to make decisions without constantly referring back to the owner. What the owner doesn't tend to do very well in most cases is hire great people. They hire people, but not necessarily people that can take the business forward. And founder will build the business on the premise that they're the best people in the room. That's not good enough. You can't build a business being the best people in the room. You can only build a business by making other people great. And that's the lesson a founder needs to learn. Founder needs to make other people great. If you can't make your team great, you're never going to get independence, because they're always going to have to keep coming to you.
So, Peter, do you have anything that you want our audience to learn from your journey so far and where
Yes.
it's leading you to?
Yeah, 100%. Make sure you spend every single day learning. I cannot overstate that enough. The more you learn, the more you earn. Remember that. Learn how to become a great business owner. Pick up skills. Be more competent. The economy doesn't give you empathy or sympathy. It recognizes competence. You want to have a business with great value that the economy will respect, skill up, and learn the skills needed to make that happen.
Finally, if every entrepreneur listening to this today, what are the sites that they can grab on to get in touch with you or to learn from you?
Well, I take it where you are, you have Amazon, yes? If you've got Amazon where you are, just type into Amazon "Your Business Sucks" and you can pick up the book for 99 cents. I don't think you can even get coffee for 99 cents. So for the next 30 days, I will be doing the book at that discounted rate so that entrepreneurs can get hold of the Kindle edition and start learning straight away. You type my name into Google, Peter Bulker, you'll find me on my website or my social media. You'll find me for my other businesses, and on all my different platforms. I have so many free resources you can tap into and learn from. And that will be the thing I'll say you do. Go and benefit from all the free resources and learn to become that great entrepreneur.
Peter, it has been an eye-opener conversing with you. Your insights on founder dependency, leadership, system, and building entrepreneur value has been incredible. Thank you for joining us today, Peter.
Thank you so much for having me today, Sophia.